Hey everyone, and welcome back to Channel Daily English. I am Alex. Now, let's be real for a second. Have you ever felt like you've been studying English for, well, forever? But when it's time to actually talk, you just freeze? Yeah, I get it. It's frustrating, right? You know the grammar, you know the words, but the fluency? It's just not there yet. Well, here at Daily English, we believe in a different way. You don't need another 5 years to speak like a pro. Honestly, you just need to stop studying English and start living it. In today's episode, I'm going to share my fast-track roadmap with you. I've got 6 powerful techniques that are going to change the way you learn forever. We're talking about real-world methods to get you speaking naturally and way faster than you think. So, grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive right in. All right, let's get into the heavy hitter of language learning. This is the one technique that honestly changed everything for me and for thousands of students I've worked with. We're talking about shadowing. Now, why is this so powerful? You see, most people think that to speak English, you just need to know the words, but that's only half the battle. The real challenge is your muscle memory. Your mouth, your tongue, your throat, they're all used to the shapes and sounds of your native language. When you try to speak English, your muscles are literally fighting against you. That's where shadowing comes in. Think of it like being an actor. When an actor wants to learn an accent, they don't just read a book about it. They listen to a recording and they try to become that person. They copy the rhythm, the melody, and the stress. So here's how you actually do it. You find a piece of audio, maybe a clip from this channel, Daily English, and you play it. But instead of listening to the whole sentence and then repeating it, you start speaking immediately. You're like a shadow right behind the speaker. If I say a word, you're saying that same word just a fraction of a second later. Let's look at a real-world example. Imagine the sentence, I was going to go to the gym, but then I realized I'm just too tired. Now, a student who just reads English might say it like this, I was going to the gym, but then I realized. It sounds choppy. It sounds like a robot. But if you shadow me, you'll hear how I don't even say going to. I say gonna. You'll hear how I connect but then I into one smooth sound, but then I. And you'll hear that long pause after realized for dramatic effect. By shadowing, you aren't just learning words, you're learning the music of English. You're training your brain to stop translating and start feeling the language. And my secret tip? Use headphones. When you have the sound right in your ears, it's much easier to catch those tiny details, like the way we swallow the letter T at the end of words or how we link sounds together. Do this for just 10 minutes a day, and I promise you, within a few weeks, your friends will be asking you, wait, have you been living in London or New York lately? It's that powerful. Now, let's talk about something that might be a little controversial. I want you to think back to how you learned English in school. Probably you sat at a desk, opened a thick textbook, and spent hours memorizing the present perfect or the third conditional, right? And let me guess, after all those years of studying rules, you still can't hold a 5-minute conversation without getting a headache. Here's the hard truth. Grammar-first learning just doesn't work for fluency. Why? Because when you're talking to someone in the real world, your brain doesn't have time to do math. You can't be thinking, okay, the subject is he, so I need to add an S to the verb. Wait, is this an irregular verb? By the time you figure that out, the person you're talking to has already left the room. To speak fast, you need to get the language into your subconscious. And the only way to do that is through something called comprehensible input. It sounds fancy, but it's actually very simple. It means filling your brain with English that you mostly understand. I like to call it the 70% rule. If you watch a movie and you understand 0, you're not learning, you're just listening to noise. But if you watch something where you understand about 70 or 80% of what's happening, your brain automatically guesses the other 30%. That's how a child learns. They don't study grammar books, they just soak up the input around them until their brain starts recognizing the patterns naturally. But here is the most important part, the secret sauce of daily English. You have to watch what you love. Seriously, if you hate politics, don't watch the news in English just because you think you should. It's going to be boring, and your brain will literally shut down. If you love cooking, watch cooking shows. If you're a gamer, watch Let's Play videos on YouTube. If you love fashion, follow fashion vloggers. When you're actually interested in the content, your brain stops focusing on the English and starts focusing on the story. That's when the magic happens. You'll start picking up idioms, phrasal verbs, and slang without even trying. So, stop studying boring sentences about John going to the bank. Go find something that makes you laugh or something that teaches you a hobby. Make your English time the favorite part of your day. Now, let's talk about that little voice inside your head. You know the one I'm talking about. When you want to say something in English, does your brain do this? First, you think of the sentence in your native language. Then, you try to find the English words for it. Then, you try to fix the grammar. And finally, you speak. By the time those words actually come out, the conversation has already moved on. It's exhausting, right? It's like having a slow, clunky translator living inside your brain. If you want true fluency, you have to kill that translator. You need to start thinking in English. Now, I know what you're thinking. Alex, that sounds impossible. My brain just doesn't work like that. But wait, it's actually a habit, and you can build it starting today right here on Daily English, even if you're just starting out. The secret is to start small, very small. I call the first step the naming game. Throughout your day, wherever you are, I want you to just name the objects around you in your head. When you wake up and see that thing making noise on your nightstand, don't think of the word in your first language. No, look at it and think alarm clock. When you're having breakfast, look at the items and think coffee, spoon, hot. You aren't making big sentences yet. You're just building a direct connection between the image and the English word, without using your native language as a bridge. Once that feels easy, we move to step 2, narrating your life. Think of yourself as the director of a movie about your own life. In your head, just describe what you're doing as you do it. I'm opening the door. I'm looking for my keys. I'm driving to work now. The traffic is terrible today. The beauty of this is nobody can hear you, so there's zero pressure. You don't have to worry about making mistakes or sounding silly. You're just practicing the flow. And here's a pro tip from the studio. When you don't know a word, don't stop and run to a translation app immediately. No. Try to describe it in English in your head. If you forget the word for refrigerator, think the big white box in the kitchen where I keep the food cold. By doing this, you're training your brain to stay in English mode. You're building those neural pathways. Over time, you'll notice something amazing. You'll be in a real conversation, and a sentence will just pop out of your mouth, without any translation at all. That is the moment you truly start becoming a fluent speaker. It takes practice, but trust me, it's the most liberating feeling in the world. Moving on to step number 5, and this one is a total game changer. It's all about chunks. Now, what do I mean by chunks? Think about how most people learn vocabulary. They make a long list of single words: decision, interest, depend. Then they try to memorize them one by one. But here's the problem. When you try to speak, you have to glue those words together like individual pieces of sand. It's hard, and it sounds unnatural. Fluent speakers don't think in single words. We think in blocks or chunks. For example, don't just learn the word decision. Learn the whole chunk to make a decision. Why? Because in English, we don't do a decision, we make one. If you learn the chunk, you'll never make that mistake. Think of it like building a house with big, solid bricks instead of tiny pebbles. It's much faster and much stronger. Instead of thank, learn thank you so much. Instead of depend, learn it depends on. When you learn these ready-made phrases, your brain doesn't have to work as hard. You just grab the chunk from your memory and boom, it's out of your mouth. So next time you're watching a video here on Daily English and you hear a phrase that sounds cool, don't just write down the new word. Write down the 3 or 4 words around it. That is how you build a natural flow. And finally, part number 6. The secret to everything we've talked about today. It's the 15-minute rule. Look, I get it. You're busy. You have work, school, family. You think, I don't have 3 hours a day to study English. Well, here's a secret. I don't want you to study for 3 hours. I want you to give me 15 minutes. But I want those 15 minutes every single day. Consistency is way more powerful than intensity. Studying for 4 hours on a Saturday and then doing nothing for the rest of the week, that's useless. Your brain will forget most of it. But 15 minutes every morning? That keeps your brain in English mode. And you can make it easy. Change your phone's language to English. Listen to an English podcast while you're brushing your teeth. Watch one short video from Daily English while you eat your lunch. You're creating an English bubble around yourself, even if you aren't living in an English-speaking country. And please, remember this. Be okay with making mistakes. Seriously, every mistake you make is just proof that you're pushing your boundaries. The people who speak English the best aren't the ones who never made a mistake. They're the ones who didn't stop when they did. So, give yourself permission to sound a bit silly sometimes. It's all part of the journey. Wow, we've covered a lot today, haven't we? From shadowing to thinking in English to the power of chunks. If you start applying even just one of these techniques today, I promise you, you're going to see a massive difference in your fluency. But remember, the most important step is the one you take right now. If you found this helpful and you want to join our community here at Daily English, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button right now. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know that you're enjoying this kind of content. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. We have new sessions coming out all the time to help you stay on track. Now I want to hear from you. Which one of these 6 techniques are you going to try first? Is it shadowing? Or maybe the 15-minute rule? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one of them, and I can't wait to see your progress. Thanks for hanging out with me in the studio today. I'm Alex, and I'll see you in the next one. Keep practicing and stay curious.